Hey, I'm Rachel,
And I'm Amanda, and this is Beyond a Ballot.
powered by DoorDash. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Beyond a Ballot podcast. I'm Rachel, and hello, Amanda.
Hi, Rachel.
It's another week of, I feel like things have went from the most interesting ever for the last month to like repetition in the House of Commons.
Oof. Yes.
It's just been like, I'm like banging my head on a wall thinking, what are they going to talk about? Like, let's get some legislation here.
For sure. And also turning our attention from U.S. politics, where it's been so squarely for the last month,
Yeah.
and then coming back to Canadian politics. And for the first week, we were really talking about, how Trump's new administration will affect Canadian politics.
Right.
But actually looking at domestic politics, I feel it's been a beat since we've talked about domestic politics.
Well, for those that aren't following the House of Commons like we are, I mean, they've been at a stalemate over documents that the Conservatives say the Liberals should hand over with regards to like a green energy. Is it green energy?
Yes.
The Conservatives say they are going to push until they get the Liberals to hand over these documents. The Liberals are saying we're not handing them over. And the House has been sitting and talking about it for now almost 2 months. They've been doing this. So that's why when we say that Canadian politics is like in terms of the legislation, it's a little bit boring right now.
It is. But there's
There's
some
some
exciting
things.
things happening, and that's why we're here. And
It's true.
We're excited to have all of you here listening with us. And as always, we'd love to hear what you want to hear about, because Rachel and I have been debating where to put our emphasis over the next few weeks of the podcast. We're going to be going back to the U.S. to talk about some American politics for sure, because it's so hot and there's so much to talk about.
Yeah.
We have some other exciting things coming up, but we'd love to hear from you. What are the things that are keeping you up at night? What do you want to learn more about? What do you feel like we've just scratched the tip of the iceberg and you want more? Because we'd love to share an episode where we really answer your questions, the things that you care about most.
Maybe we should do that, like an open line.
Let's do it.
Yeah, if you have questions, send them in to us. But how are you doing otherwise? You're a little sick this week.
I'm a little sick, so you'll have to excuse my voice on this one.
Sounds great.
But other than that, it's for every parent that's listening. It is flu season. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep.
It's running through our house. So we have like 3 of 5 of us are down, and we're just struggling through. How about you? How's your fam?
I mean, knock on wood, we have no illnesses as of right now. A couple of runny noses, but I am like militant about hand washing and them getting sick, because mine are 1 in 3. And when they get sick, it's like, I'm really down for the count.
Totally.
So I'm like, oh, you put your hand there, you're washing your hands. Try and avoid as much as possible. But
well, if you haven't been dealing with sickness, what you have been dealing with is some weird weather.
Oh my gosh, yes.
What has happened? What are they calling it?
A cyclone bomb happened the other night.
Who comes up with these? I just want to know.
So
who labels these weather moments?
I was talking to Darius at CBC, who's the CBC meteorologist in Vancouver a couple of days ago when this was all happening. And he said that is an actual term. A cyclone bomb is a weather term, and it was supposed to, I mean, we were all freaking out that we were going to have like trees flying. And it was, at one point they said it was going to snow, which for out here is pretty rare. But it ended up being mass power outage, but nothing really crazy. Thank goodness. Although shout out to BC Hydro for working through the night, because I think there was like 300,000 British Columbians without power.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And the island is just, whew, a lot of wind.
Okay.
Yeah. So other than that, I'm just gearing up for my favorite holiday season.
Me too.
Yeah. Are you guys have your tree up already?
Of course we do.
Of course. God, I don't have a tree as a Jew, but I do really wish that I did, because I don't know if you know this about me, but Christmas is my favorite season of the year.
Oh, I believe it.
I would start like in September. If it was
now, I understand that this year Hanukkah is actually falls on Christmas.
Yes.
Is it Christmas true? Like Day. The 8 days leading up to Christmas?
It's the 25th is the first night.
Oh, it's the first night.
And then there's 8 nights of Hanukkah. Yeah. And it's really exciting. I mean, traditionally we eat Chinese food, most Jewish people, on Christmas Eve or Christmas night. And so this year we're going to have a Chinese food Hanukkah extravaganza on Christmas night.
Okay, before we get into politics, I have to ask you, what is your favorite holiday tradition around this time of year?
I really like eating Chinese food on Christmas.
That's your favorite tradition? Cute.
I mean, I'm trying to think of what traditions I have other than Christmas. Hanukkah isn't really a tradition kind of holiday. I mean, you light the candles, but there's nothing. Our big holidays are like September with Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Right. Those are like the big meals together. And Hanukkah's kind of just like a fun one. What's yours?
Okay, so my favorite tradition this time of year, and there will be some women listening to this, so it's a shout out to them, is I do something called Baking Day. Baking Day is in its 19th year.
No.
Yes. So for 19 years, my girlfriends and I have been baking together. This was a little bit of an ode to my own mom, who loved to bake at Christmas, as so many of our moms do. Oh, and I wanted to carry the tradition on to bake, because I'm not much of a baker, and I'm definitely not much of a cook. So it's like the once a year wonder. But I decided what fun it would be to have like our girlfriends come out. And now it's a huge competition.
Wow.
That happens every year. There are over 20 women who participate. They're in my home, baking, competing. There might be a cocktail or two. We have a brunch. We decorate cookies, and then we bring cookies to Covenant House, which is a shelter in Toronto.
I didn't know you donate them. That's amazing.
Yes. So, 19. So next year is our 20th year.
Did you start when you were 5?
Exactly. I totally did. I started when I was 5, and there were just a couple of us, and now there's more than 20 of us. So, Rach, next year, for my 20th year,
I'm coming.
You must fly in for Baking Day.
Just give me the heads up, and I will be there with bells on, because that is such a nice tradition. That really beats my Chinese food eating.
I mean, it does a little. So I'm going to need you to just participate.
I need to come up with some new traditions other than my U.S. election parties.
Well, we like those too.
Yeah, you'll come to that one in a couple of years.
I will. So, okay, well, we should turn our attention to politics.
Let's do it.
The reason why we're all here.
Yes. So let's first talk about something that we're doing that's really exciting.
Yeah.
And that is, we are going to be in Winnipeg. So if you're listening to us right now and you are in Winnipeg or surrounding area, or just really love us and want to come and see us, we are really excited that we're going to be sitting down with Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew on December 9th. And for me, this has very special meaning, because he is my political crush. I love him dearly. I'm probably going to pass out on the stage when we meet him. I've already warned his office. And I think that Wab Kinew is such a compelling politician in this country. And
I do too.
This week put out a throne speech in Manitoba with some really interesting deviations from what normal NDP policy, where it might lie. So for me, I'm really excited to sit down with him and ask him about how he governs, why he does what he does, kind of how he thinks of himself. Is he a progressive, or does he not like that definition? So I'm really excited.
I'm so excited too.
To watch me pass out.
Please come and join us. We'd also love to meet you in person.
Yes, we would. And you can get tickets on our website, and we're going to hopefully see you there at the Canadian Human Rights Museum, which is also an amazing venue. So
I can't wait. I'm also going to go see Winnie the Pooh.
You are?
Stuff.
Oh.
Well, I'm there.
That's nice.
Well, my partner at Pomp and Circumstance, the agency that I run, She is the family who has the real life story of Winnie the Pooh.
I'm sorry, what?
You don't know this?
What? No.
Okay, I'm going to bring you something really special when I see you. But anyways,
my God.
she wrote a book called Finding Winnie. She's actually written a couple of books.
What?
But Finding Winnie is like still a Heather's pick today. And on Indigo is a Caldecott winner.
Are you
the
serious?
biggest award you can win in children's literature. And it is the real life story of her family's history with Winnie the Pooh. So I'm going to go see the monument there, the big Pooh statue.
Of course, I've seen it. That's crazy.
Well, let's go
together.
Wait,
she was the little girl from the story?
No, she was her great-grandfather was the one who bought Pooh, the bear, the real-life bear.
Wow.
And took the bear and ultimately gave the bear to the zoo. So it's her family story that Winnie the Pooh.
That's
actually
crazy.
Like the real life Winnie.
Well, bring her with you to Winnipeg.
I know I should. Lindsay, do you want to come to Winnipeg?
Yeah, let us know.
Officially asked her on the pod.
And then she can talk about Winnie the Pooh with Wab Kinew. That'd be so fun. Wow.
That would be cool.
I had no idea. That's very, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
We'll definitely have to. They should sell more Winnie the Pooh merch in Winnipeg.
They really should.
Okay,
so moving on.
Now a word from our title sponsor, DoorDash. Season 2 of Beyond a Ballot is officially powered by DoorDash. Just like we go beyond a ballot, DoorDash goes beyond delivery. DoorDash is committed to helping merchants reach new customers, providing Dashers with flexibility, and helping everyday Canadians find more time for what matters most. Last week, we heard from Ganyet Yasomi of Wang Dao Bistro in Morden, Manitoba, about the impact that DoorDash has had on her as a woman-owned business. But we only scratched the surface. Here's more from Ganyet on how DoorDash is helping her reach new customers and grow her operations.
We've recorded tremendous growth since we incorporated DoorDash into our food delivery service system. Obviously, because we live in a fast-paced community, nobody has the time to come in. So the bulky part of our customers, they prefer to order online through DoorDash and get their food delivered without leaving their spaces, which translates into a growth potential in our own business and income revenue as well. So it is directly proportional. More customers, more money, more revenue, more profits, more growth.
Moving on to real politics, which is big news the other day, a couple of days ago. Randy Boiseneau, who was a cabinet minister in the Liberal government, resigned. And Randy faced a lot of calls for his resignation, not only from the Conservatives, although they are the ones pushing this, but from the NDP as well. And so Randy, for context, has had a lot of issues with certain scandals. I'm going to put it like that. First of all, there was question about money going to his company and whether or not he was still involved with the company. And there was this text message a few months ago where somebody named Randy was referenced. And he claimed that it was another Randy in his company, although there's no record of another Randy and there's very few people that work for him. So you might remember, Amanda, that all the Conservatives were going crazy. There was like all of these videos coming out on TikTok, like, will the real Randy Boiseneau please stand up?
I remember.
And they kept saying, like, who's the real Randy?
Who's Randy?
Where's the real Randy? So anyways, nothing ever came from that really, but the real Randy was never identified. The last week, there has been question around his Indigenous heritage and whether or not his company has claimed to be Indigenous owned and benefited from that claim. So what was announced midweek was that the police in Edmonton were investigating his company, calls for his resignation. His former company, calls for resignation grew, and finally he decided to step away from cabinet. So I think ultimately,
so much going on there.
Good decision. I mean, Randy was a bit of a liability for the Liberals. He gave a lot of things for the opposition to push the Liberals on, especially when it comes to like judgment calls on who's in their cabinet. And I think he did them a favor by walking away. What do you think?
Just for context too, so we get all of the story as accurate as possible.
Of course.
He denied having any involvement in his business since he was reelected in 2021. He has claimed that his former business partner, Stephen Anderson, who is the chief operating officer at GHI, was working without his consent to advance his personal interests, and that it was through this chief operating officer that there were claims of Indigenous-owned routes when bidding for federal contracts in 2020. We should also note that they never won any contracts, so there wasn't any work. And then there's a separate concern, which was the conflicting statements around his family's heritage. And he made I think he put out a press release, which was to say that his adopted mother, I believe, and brother are status Métis.
Right.
And that is what we know.
The question was over his grandmother or great-grandmother.
Yes, and whether or not she had Cree roots, I believe.
Which the census showed she was from Germany.
Right. So a lot going on there. So there were a lot of calls for his resignation, mostly, although I agree they were coming from other places, but mostly from the Conservative Party. A number of members of the Conservative Party who were ousted from the House. Michelle Rempel. Who else was ousted?
Michael Barrett.
Yeah.
But don't you feel
because they were calling him a fraud?
I know, but don't you feel like that bar is just so low now? Like everyone's getting booted out of that place.
Well, maybe they should
Is that for good reason?
Maybe they should act, a little more maturely than my daughter's grade 2 class. Maybe they should do that, and then they won't get booted. Just because we have, Trump to watch doesn't mean that the rest of us all have to act like clowns.
Listen, if Trump was using their language, nobody would even blink. They'd be like, "Oh, he's so cordial."
Well, thank God we have a better standard here.
It's true. We are Canadian after all.
Yes, we are Canadian. So, anywho, what has happened? He has resigned from cabinet, not from his seat.
Yes,
as a member representing. I can't remember his riding.
Edmonton.
It's in Alberta.
Yes.
Edmonton. Yes.
Edmonton something.
Edmonton something. And, I think that that's probably the right thing to have happened, because I think that it becomes a massive distraction when there's a lot of scrutiny around a member. And for better or worse, for right or wrong, when that kind of distraction heats up, when there's a lot of fire behind it, when it gains momentum, there's no slowing that train down. And that means that everybody's eyes are squarely focused on what's happening there. And it's very difficult to get the attention put on things that the government wants to talk about. And for sure, this government, who is trailing in the polls and has been trailing in the polls for a long time, does not want to spend their time talking about anything that anyone would deem scandalous. So his resignation marks, I think, a moment for them to be able to put it aside, for him to be able to deal with his issues in the way that he needs to deal with them, and for the government to be able to turn the attention back onto the things that they want to talk about.
I think that this government, and tell us if I'm wrong, but is one of they have the least number of people that have been removed from cabinet. In their, how many years has it been now? 9-year history. I can think of Jody and Jane Philpott.
Yep.
But can you think of anybody else? I feel like this government has done a really unwavering job of supporting cabinet ministers. And so when I heard that Randy resigned, in a normal world of politics, I would say there's no way he was going to survive this week. Of course he would have, but there was a question mark in my mind whether or not the Liberals and the Prime Minister, even a couple of days ago when he was at the G20, he was asked by media whether or not he supported Randy, and he said yes. So I wonder what that turning point was. My suspicion is the fact that the Edmonton police have decided to investigate. And so maybe that was the real turning point in this, because they really have not they've really overlooked a lot of scandals that have happened. So hopefully.
Yeah. And I think, you know, in an era and time of cancel culture, which is funny because the Conservative Party, I think en masse would really oppose the idea of cancel culture. They don't like it, right? But they're the first to, you know, wave their cancel flag to try to get anyone to resign. And there's a reason for that. Listen, when you're in opposition, when you can, you know, create a scandal, or when you can fan the flames of a scandal, you'll do it. Of course you will.
Because
that's normal par for the course behavior. But I do think it's hypocritical for that particular party.
You know why they do it though? Because you know what Conservatives hate more than cancel culture? Unethical behavior. And I think for them,
did you just say that with a straight face?
Like the conflict of interest issue, I think eats away at them. Like the majority of conservatives.
That's why you think they're doing it, because they're so wholly ethical?
Well, I think that they like, I get your point for sure that, you know, we hate cancel culture. Yes. But I also think that like anytime there's an ethical question, conservatives will go after that. That's like a big, you're like dying.
I'm dying. It's among the funniest things that you've ever said.
I think it's true.
And when and if you form government again, we're going to remember this conversation.
Yeah, totally.
About ethics.
You should, because you know what?
We'll see.
I want to see what a Pierre Poilievre government does with with a question like this, because in my mind, like I said, like any minister that was acting like this would be removed. I think there's a really hard line in conservative politics where it's like you need to follow the rules. And if you don't, there's a lot of consequences to that.
But if you know, make claims that the prime minister, for instance, was in a bathtub with somebody, that's entirely ethical.
No, that was horrendous.
Exactly.
But
so this is where hypocritical comes from. But anyway,
yeah,
I will just say that we could spend a lot of time here, and I could name various accounts of when the Conservative Party has, in my view, acted unethically in broad daylight in the House of Commons, which might be the reason why they're getting kicked out so often. Back to our original point. Here we are.
Okay.
Another fun fact around the Conservative Party is there was a big article this week talking about message discipline.
That was actually, I was trying to segue into that story when my last point.
It was such a good segue. And listen, Rachel and I obviously on different ends of the political spectrum, but we can always laugh about our fun debates, which is, you know, I think we need more of that in the world right now.
We sure do.
But anyways, the Conservative, there was a very long article. Actually, CBC wrote an article. They were talking about message discipline. They were talking about how disciplined it is in the Poilievre caucus. It sort of had a little bit of a tinge of Handmaid's Tale, like the under his eye view, which is like, they control everything you say. They control everything you're not allowed to talk to journalists on your way into caucus anymore. There's staffers standing out front, making sure that you walk right by, like blinders on, do not say a word. And that, of course, there's all of these slogans that maybe Poilievre has come up with himself. I don't know, axe the tax. But that you get rewarded, this is what the article says, you get rewarded if you use his slogans. And you get disciplined if you go off message.
What do you get, like chocolate or what?
No, well, apparently you get more time. You get more time in the House.
Oh.
Yeah, this is what the article said. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah.
Curious.
I think that was a CBC article.
It was,
came out.
There were many, many conservative sources in the article, sitting members who asked to remain anonymous because they were afraid of getting a consequence.
And obviously they're not saying axe the tax, those members.
Obviously not.
I think that there's always been a heightened sense of message discipline within, I'm not even going to say federal conservative caucuses, but conservative caucuses across the country. I'm thinking of like the BC Liberals and Christy Clark and her ability to unite that caucus. You have to remember, the majority of conservative caucuses are huge tent parties. And we talked about this a lot when, even in the context of Donald Trump, that the Republicans are much more on the right and the Democrats are much more on the left. Whereas in Canada, the Conservative Party is really a centrist right party. So there's a lot of people that are on the right, but there's also people like me that are centrist conservatives. So being able to manage that caucus is key to your success. And we saw this with Stephen Harper, who for years also had very tight control on messaging and the way he ran his PMO. It worked for Stephen Harper. It worked. Like I remember the 2008 economic plan where they said, what was the line? Canada's economic action plan. And we used to say that all the time. We're getting the job done. We're getting the job done. Conservatives are so good at messaging. They can really highlight very quickly what issues are and how they're going to solve them. Axe the tax. What's the problem? The gas tax, carbon tax. And we're going to axe it like in 3 words. That for me is a huge win. Like their ability to message is incredible. And this is not a Pierre Poilievre thing. This is something that has been around since the Conservative Party came to be in 2006. So it's interesting. We always get these kinds of articles where it's like, do you remember in 2014, they were saying like Stephen Harper is so evil and he's consolidating. I think Paul Wells wrote a whole book about his hate for the media. And like, ultimately this is just a regurgitated argument, but like message discipline is not crazy in a political party at all. And like, you're seeing the flip side of what happens when, you know, people go rogue on their messaging. We saw Justin Trudeau have people say that they're going to sign this letter to ask him to resign. And like, I felt so bad for him because like, there's no caucus discipline there, right? Like all these people are coming out and saying, we want him to go. We don't believe in this leader. But if he had a better grasp on caucus, maybe that wouldn't have been such a public issue. It could have been something decided internally.
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely, if there's anything that I have celebrated the Conservative Party for, it's been their style of communications, which you might like it, you might not, but it works because they don't deviate from the script and the playbook. I think what was interesting about this article was this idea that not just about party discipline or message discipline, but around discipline on who you talk to and who you don't talk to, that you can't speak to journalists. There's a thing that happens in the House of Commons when our members go into the House and there's a lot of journalists, or if they're going into caucus meetings, there's a lot of journalists around. And I mean, listen, I started my roots, and I think Rachael would say the same, where we were young staffers with like our little recorders and, you know,
now
our ministers would get scrummed and you would like shove your hand in with your recorder to catch the
They
scrum.
don't even use that anymore. That's how old we are.
I know. They're so
recorders.
But it was the best. Honestly, those are some of my best memories. Is like the most exciting part is like, you know, the minister comes out and descends upon him all of the journalists and you get the quote or you don't get the quote. So the idea that they're just not allowed to talk to journalists, I think is really interesting and definitely follows sort of the Trump or Republican playbook of, you know, one message that comes out from the center. I don't know, we'll see how Canadians feel about that. I think that could be it could be a bit of a wedge. We'll see.
But are they not allowed to talk to media? Because I see them
Apparently
talking
not.
to media all the time.
Well, I guess they like elect a person who can talk to media, but you have to be told that you can. This is what the article said. I don't know.
But like if I was doing comms for a political party, I'd be like, that's the dream. If you could just get everybody on the same message
totally,
and like have one person dealing with
just
each
don't
issue.
Talk.
Yeah. It's like everybody, you know, like the ego is high in politics. You have to be a little crazy to run. And so if you have people that just want the airtime, that are commenting on things and like not able to be the official voice of your party, that's a problem. And I think that the Conservatives historically have been exceptional on this message game. So speaking of message, let's talk about Trudeau and his message on immigration. Because this was a 7-minute video that came out, and we have talked previously about Pierre putting out these like mini documentaries on housing and other major issues that kind of break down what the problem is. And I've said like, this is great. This is amazing content. For me, I was really, when I saw that the Liberal government had put out this video of Justin Trudeau talking about his issues with immigration, how he had faulted, and then talking about what they're going to do better. I was like, yes, they're doing it. They're changing the game. They're doing these mini documentaries too. Well, what I think fell flat is that he outlined all the issues in the first minute and then spent 6 minutes talking about what they're going to do better. But does anybody, and I'm going to put this to you, like, because you're the comms person, does anybody listen to those other 6 minutes when they're watching videos online?
I think they do. I don't think that we're like, I think that if you're going on there, if you're a person who's motivated enough to listen to a politician's message, 6 minutes isn't going to scare you. You're going to get through it, at least a few minutes of that, because I think you're motivated to be there. And we're seeing this across the board where a number of parties, including the Conservative parties, are putting out longer form video content. Video is king. We know that. And we know that, we are now primed to be receiving most of our messages through video and scrolling. And I think when I first heard about the video, I was less enthused. When I saw the video.
Why is that?
Because I kind of felt like, I don't know, I didn't know that he would be able to deliver it in a way that would be compelling enough. I think that he's very good at a lot of things, but I wasn't sure that was going to be the format for him, to be honest.
Okay.
When I watched it, I felt differently. I thought that he looked really comfortable. I felt like he delivered it in a way that felt really genuine to me. I'm a liberal, so it's going to be easier, obviously, for me to consume that kind of message.
Yeah.
But I did think I was actually impressed, and I thought there's something here. There's something here for him, that if he can replicate this idea of being able to speak directly to camera, to give an authentic message, to be believable, to share views in what appears to be an honest, forthright way, that's an interesting communications opportunity for him. I don't know how well it worked. I don't think anyone has, those numbers or thoughts yet, but I think it was viewed like 500,000 times.
I think 1 million.
1 million times? Wow.
It's crazy. But I agree with you. I think he looked great. He sounded much better than he normally does, like much more comfortable, less like nervous. But I think the message behind it, like this isn't his fault. I really think this is like a question around the communication strategy of we have this policy. It really didn't work. At one point he said something like, we should have stopped this a long time before. And it was like, is that the right message he should be sending to Canadians right now? And then the whole first minute was just him basically confessing sins on air. I talked about this on...
I didn't think that, though. I felt like he used, in the first minute, there's a lot of splicing of news clips. And I think he was using that to lend credibility to his message, to say, there are global factors at play, and also to explain, like, most people have zero idea about the immigration system.
Right.
They don't understand the difference between a permanent immigrant and a temporary immigrant. And I think he used that first minute to try to explain that and try to explain why we are where we are. And honestly, because we're in this age of these, the sloganeering, where these little slogans stick.
Yeah.
I think that there's merit in trying to find, for people who care and people who want to learn, people who want to listen. It's the reason why we have this podcast, is there's still room to educate. There's still room to just Be a truth teller.
Yeah.
Say it like it is. Give the facts, ma'am. Thank you very much. And that is what my takeaway was, that it was more of an education. He wasn't just trying to slam anybody. He wasn't trying to bury anybody. He's just like, this is why we are where we are.
But what's the goal strategically? Like, you're on the eve of a campaign. Why now? I could understand 2 years into a term saying, okay, this is a really complicated policy. We're going to break it down. I understand why Pierre's doing it, because he wants people to understand what these issues are so that they'll vote for him and the solutions to them. But what was the goal for the Trudeau team to put out a message like, we really messed up?
Well, I don't think he said that. I don't think
he did.
I don't think that no, he didn't say we really messed up. I think that the point they were making was that there are, for sure, mistakes were made. Some things worked really well. Some things didn't. And we're course correcting. And the reason why now is because they're making some major changes to the immigration system. And I think that they need people to understand what those are and why. He also talked about a lot of the bad actors.
Yeah.
Schools, post-secondary schools that were bringing in foreign students without the credentials that they needed, things that contributed to the problem that we're facing and how they're going to fix that problem. And I think that we tend to jump that step a lot of explaining because we think we don't have the time. Right. We think people don't care. They don't want to listen. Yeah. And I would argue that people do care and people do want to listen. And we're discrediting people's intelligence when we just slap a slogan on them instead of really telling them what's going on. And I think that for one, in this case, I felt like, okay, for anyone who really wants to understand the government's rationale, you may watch that and say, okay, I understand better now. And now I can make an informed decision. And I still don't like what you did. Fine. But at least they're spelling it out from A to Z. At least they're telling you what the problem is and the reason why they're attempting to fix it. Maybe you decide that it's too little too late. That's also fine. But at least they're attempting to give people the full picture.
Leah Ward, who I'm on CBC with, said on air the other day that there is a place in politics for an apology, but there needs to be underlying trust from the electorate. And for Leah, they said that the disconnect between Canadians trusting Trudeau and coming out and making this apology just missed the mark. And I think it's something that I've been thinking about ever since, because again, I keep going back to what were they trying to accomplish here? But again, I'll give it to you. He did look better than most videos. Maybe we'll see more.
Maybe we'll see more.
Maybe
this will be the beginning of a series.
Oh, yeah. And then we can all
Valiquette,
spend our days watching the mini documentaries from both Pierre and from Justin. Yeah, it'll be great.
Exactly.
No, don't do that. Listen to our podcast instead.
Exactly. We'll break it down for you.
Okay, can we take 2 minutes to talk about the BC cabinet? Because this is just a little segment for all those of you in British Columbia.
Tell us what's happening. Tell us what's happening with the BC cabinet.
Yeah. Well, the election only just ended, so here we are. You'll remember David Eby has a very slim majority. One seat.
The election that would never end.
It would never end.
But then it did.
And now we're here. He has one seat. They still need a speaker. He said he'll give one up. So that means that he will have 46 seats. The Conservatives will have 44 seats. And that's going to be absolutely wild. But this week, he announced his cabinet, and interesting going into it because I think it was 14 cabinet ministers either resigned or lost their seat. So this was okay, what's he going to do now? He also has been very clear that he's shifting things around. He fired his chief of staff.
Yes.
He cleared house in the PO, Premier's office with a bunch of people, brought in new leadership there, and then held this cabinet swearing in. Interestingly, as I was telling Amanda, they don't put out a list. How everyone leaks it, the media leaks it before. Yeah. You actually have to sit there and watch the ceremony.
I know.
And they're like, okay.
I was trying to call Rachel.
Yeah. I was like, I can't talk to you.
Can we chat? And she's like, I can't talk right now. I'm watching to see who's being sworn in.
I totally was, because if you don't listen, you miss it. And they're like, okay, Grace Lohr is Minister of, and everyone cheers. So Brenda Bailey, who was an amazing minister. She came in new after the last election. She's like in the tech world, and she's been kind of in the tech ministry for the last few years. She became the finance minister. And so when they announced her, there was like roaring applause. Aww. Everybody was so excited. I really like Brenda too. So that's exciting. But a couple of interesting moves. Adrian Dix, who was the health minister all through COVID. We still have our health minister from then. Yep. He got moved, which was kind of like the domino effect. Everyone was saying he kind of had to, because we've had so many ER closures here. British Columbians are going to the States for cancer care. Like the province of BC is paying for that. So there's a lot of health problems in our system here. So he got moved, but that was like the domino. It was like everyone was saying, if Dix moves, we have to move everybody else. And he did. Gary Begg, who was the guy in Surrey Guildford who won by like 22 votes, he finally got an appointment to cabinet. Nice. Well,
he kind of earned it.
The premier said, and introducing landslide Gary with his 22 votes, because that's what everyone was waiting for. A lot of
dad humor.
A lot of dad jokes there, David Eby. Somebody messaged me and said, should I let David Eby know that there's a new season of Below Deck? And I was like, absolutely. No.
David Eby probably already knows.
He's probably already PVR'd the whole thing.
He's already there.
Yeah, I know.
He's like, he's watched the whole thing.
I also want to just say, we heard last week that John Horgan, the former premier of British Columbia, passed away.
Yes.
I had many personal interactions with him while working in the BC legislature. He was a gem of a politician, of a human. And I think David Eby had told us that he was sick again. And so I was kind of anticipating that news, but I was shocked. I was like shell shocked when I heard it, because he was young, he was vivacious. Yeah. And so I just wanted to say that I will very deeply miss John Horgan in the BC legislature. He was a good guy. One of the good ones.
One of the good ones.
Yeah. Anyways.
Well, that was quite the episode. We thought we had so little to talk about on the domestic front.
I know.
Turns out there's always something to talk about.
And then we didn't even touch on Trump and his appointments down south.
Next one.
We're going to have to do a deep dive into that once they're all put in.
Appointed.
Yeah, it's weird that they take such a long time, but
I know.
Imagine if we rolled out cabinet like that.
I kind of like it.
Do you?
Well, I like that you get this, like, it's like the news, then the news train keeps rolling.
Yeah. Everybody gets their minute.
Everybody gets their minute.
Yeah. David Eby's just standing on a stage for 6 weeks announcing cabinet ministers. Oh my God. Okay. Well, we're going to leave it there for this week. But always an absolute pleasure to talk politics with you. And we are going to be back next week. So we'll talk to you then.
We'll see you then. Thank you for listening. New episodes air every Friday.
Subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram and find us at beyondaballot.com.